Wonder what I can make this week. Nah. Do not have enough clay for that one. Maybe, no. Maybe one day. Gotta think of something I can bake. Just wait. Hold on. I wonder. Still wondering. Full of wonder. Let's be stupid. Cue the intro. Inside my mind. Hello everyone. Thank you again for coming back to my channel. I honestly didn't think you would, but here you are, so thank you so much. My name is AK Wright. I am a writing sculptor, sculpting writer, whichever you want to phrase, it's what it is. And I just like to take a moment and thank you for coming back to my channel. This is MindofAK. This is every week I try to do some kind of cool sculpture, something like that. We're going to continue my series from last week, which is a Sculpting Makeover. So, a little bit different this week, a little bit more challenging. I figured I'd up the ante a little bit. I'm going to try to take something that is common in almost everyone's household and turn it into something super unneeded, but hopefully something you may want to have in your house. So this week, I take these 2 paper plates and several more and try to turn these into this. Yeah, I told you it was going to be stupid this week. But what's not stupid is if you hit the like button, give me a subscribe if you could, hit the bell icon for future updates, and let's go ahead and try to have some fun this week. I really appreciate you all joining me on the ride, and let's go ahead and try to get this going. Alright, like I said, let's be stupid this week. Now, I know this sounds a little bit like self-loathing. It's not. This project became extremely ambitious for me this week. And this is honestly, I know I said this last week. I'll probably say it later on down the line as well. Of all the sculptures I've ever made, this is absolutely the largest sculpture I've ever made. And if I have my way around it, this will be the last big sculpture I make. So what you're seeing now, it's a little bit of a teaser shot for the beginning. It's me actually formulating these paper plates into what's supposed to start out as a flower. Now, I'll give you a little bit of insight into this, as I know I did explain at the beginning of the video. I wanted to do a little sunset type of thing where you have a tree and then there's a light and there's a cute little character underneath the light just having a good time. And then somehow down the line, this whole thing spiraled to completely out of control. I'll get into that in a little bit, but just so you can see what I'm showing on the video, what I'm doing is actually bulking out my wire. This is going to be extremely top heavy, so what I'm doing is I'm taking my wire and my trusty drill, and I'm actually making the wire a little bit stiffer, pause, to make sure that number one, this doesn't fall over in my oven, and two, when the clay is up and it's good to go, it maintains its shape, which is what I'm showing here. So I'm trying it a few different ways. This way I'm not a fan of at the moment, but I am at least mark it out on my plate so I know how I want the aluminum foil when I go to put the Sculpey Ultralight on, all the other components, how everything's going to be laid out. I'm also going to give this a little bit of a fin at the end because I also thought this could be something with a mouth. It does end up that way as well. It was not at the plan. So what you see is the most ghetto armature I've ever made. So this is the arm of it, and I did turn the plates around so it looks a little bit more natural, if you could say that. And what I'm doing, as I did on my first video, is we're bulking out that aluminum foil so it has a little bit of weight on it. Now, aluminum foil, if you do start to get into sculpting, is a life changer. It definitely saves the amount of clay that you need to use in order to make your sculptures the way that they are, and also make sure that it doesn't make the piece that you're making too bulky. So it's the best thing that you can have. There's other things you can obviously use, but aluminum foil of all of those components is the safest in the oven, and also make sure that, you know, the clay adheres to it as well. What I'm doing is a little bit different as well. I'll go into this here in a little bit in a second. I'm making a base to put this on. I actually make two bases. The second one I'll get into later on. But I'm making a base for this to go on for everything else. So I connected everything, and now I'm putting that bacon bond or oven plate Kelly adhesive, whatever you want to go by, onto the piece. And I'm brushing it in. And now it's time to apply all of that Ultralight. Oh, all the Ultralight I had to put on this. It was way too much. I should have thought of another way around it to put this on. I didn't. So yeah, what you're seeing is about 2.5 hours of me applying the Ultralight so it adhered and everything else. Went through 3 packs of it. Like I stated, there's several reasons why this is not the last time I'm going to make something this big. As I just pointed on the video, I didn't want to burn through all of my Ultralight. So this aluminum foil that you see me applying, I'm actually going to just put some more oven baked clay adhesive on that when the time comes, and just apply it with my strict clay. Should be fine. It ends up being fine. If I didn't want to go through all of my Ultralight at once, I probably would have put that on there too. I just didn't want to run out. Also, this is another thing. This is going to be a theme that you'll hear through the video. I was going to make something totally different, as I said, what it ends up at the end of the video. So I'm taking little pieces of wire, and I was going to make like little things for like rope to be attached to, like a bridge, and it didn't go anywhere. This is the part that I always get a lot of questions on, is how I make my eyes. So I'm going to show you. And there's a little caveat to this as well. Get back over there. There you go. So this is how I start to do the eyes. I take my stylus tool and I make my little pupils. 1, 2. And to make the edging of the pupil, I don't know what these parts are called. Again, anyone who is really good with anatomy, you can always let me know. But I take my brush and I go along the rim of each of the eyes, and I put a nice little thick coat of nail polish on. Then I take my scraper tool and I scrape them, and that's what makes the whatever these are called. I sound very uneducated right now. I apologize. But that's what makes the details of the eye the way that they are. And I'm just going to go through my process. I'm doing the red now, as you can see. And the funny thing of these, since this is somewhat rinse and repeat, these eyes that you're seeing me make, I have no idea what curse is upon my house, but I put a lot of detail into these eyes. The eyes have since disappeared out of my home. So at the end result of this sculpture, you do not see these eyes anywhere in the project. But I'm leaving the footage in, so if anyone ever wants to try to make an eye, this is my process that I use 95% of the time with eyes. Sometimes I do something differently, but this is usually my go-to process. So also what I'm painting these on are glass cabochons. They come in different sizes. Some are 5s, some are 10s. The biggest ones that I like to use are 20mm cabochons. They're really good if you want like a really nice larger eye. But you take your polishes and you fill them in. There's the 20mm one there. And this is me doing the exact same thing. Like I said, I wanted this to somehow be some form of a treasure trove. Like I was explaining to someone else, I had a lot of Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark vibes when I started this or got into it. So I wanted to make a gem piece that would go in the middle. Like if you came across this out of nowhere and you stumbled across it, you thought you were about to hit paradise, and then boom, a whole bunch of bad stuff happens. But it's the exact same process. I'm coating it. And here are all the ones I made. There's the eyes you'll never see again. Here's another set and another smaller set, and there's the big one. So I'm just taking these and putting them into the Ultralight. The one thing with these, as stated this last week horribly, but I'll try to say it a little bit better. Once you put the polish on, let them fully dry before you try to apply them in any form of clay, aluminum foil, anything that you're going to put into an oven. Reason for that is, number one, the glass can fall off and it can cause a crack, and if it's not, you know, fully adhered, you'll have polish run down the side and it doesn't look great. So as a few shots ago, we just got this out of the oven for its first bake. It's good to go. Now this is what I'm showing you is the 5.5 to 6 hour endless foray of me applying my Super Sculpey Original to this entire piece. Did I mention this is the biggest piece I've ever made ever in my life, and I hope to never make a piece this big again. All that said though, I had several times when I was making this, I did not know what I was actually making, which is a common trait of mine. I have a nice idea in my head, but sometimes logistically, what you see in your brain doesn't equate to what you can actually make in real life. And like I said, 5 hours wore me out. But the same thing as far as that, I wanted to finish it to try to prove to myself that I could. That's one thing I want to get out of this channel as well with you. Sometimes there'll be something I'll make, it won't be my proudest moment, but at the same time, I am proud that I finished it. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. So that goes with anything. If you're starting a sculpture, if you're starting a poem, if you're starting a fitness regime, anything that you're dedicating yourself to, it might be hard, you might not be happy with the end result, but at least finish it and move on to the next one. What you can see here really quick is I'm detailing some, I want the top of it to look like a little bit of a cave. Like I said, this is where I was at. I have no idea where I'm going with this, so I'm just kind of throwing everything at the dartboard and seeing what sticks. I also snuck and showed this to a couple people, and that's actually me putting the last bit of clay. It's going in the oven. Real quick, this is where I'm at. This is the one thing that I'm actually really proud of. So I showed you all the supplies I made there. It's some speckling, glitter, paint. What I'm doing is I'm mixing these colors together with some speckling, and I made another side piece of aluminum foil, and I'm making a secondary base for this all to sit on. So I did get a thought as I was going along that this should be something off the edge of a mountain, that if you find it, you had to go through a lot of channels and a lot of diligence, perseverance, blood, sweat, and tears, yada 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 to go through. So what I'm doing is I'm taking some speckling, you just saw in the previous shot. I mixed my colors, some water, and the glitter together. And I'm putting speckling, and I'm mixing this all together. Now the thing with speckling, it is something that you can use right out of the jar. But when you put water into it, it does start to look like it's melted pudding. So I'm mixing it together, and it doesn't look like what speckling normally is. But what I did is I took it to my freezer, left it covered for about 30 minutes, and we got speckling like it's supposed to. And I'm putting several coats of this on my aluminum thing that I made. And it does, this part actually didn't take that long, but it does take about 24 hours to dry. So if you do use speckling, I am not in the construction side of it. I'm super novice with this, but I did leave it 24 hours to dry just to prevent any cracking and it losing its shape. So what you're seeing me here is putting all of that on there, and then we'll go ahead and get to the next spot. So hey, look at that new mat, it's beautiful. And this also looks beautiful too. So this is what I also did. This is the thing, and I took another piece of aluminum foil and glued it to this. Because I had another thought. I want this to be on a mountain, but I also want it to be so high in the mountain that you have to go through some clouds to get it. See that glitter? Glitter came out nice. So I put some wire into my new piece of aluminum foil that's glued on, and I wrap it all the way around just to let it have some dimension. I know this doesn't make sense now just looking at it. It'll make sense here hopefully in a few seconds. Like I stated, this was a lot of trial and error for me on this piece. That's the one thing that I'm proud of. I went way out my comfort zone in order to make this the way that it looks, and I'm actually proud of that. So again, another thing, finish something, don't be scared to try things new, obviously take your health in precaution and move forward. So this is what I'm doing to make the clouds, is I'm taking some cotton balls and my Fabri-Tac that I used last week to put the teeth on my last creature and saliva, and I'm just applying cotton balls all the way around it. And it doesn't look right at the beginning, it looks kind of cheap, but the more that I started to put these on, it does start to look a little bit like, hey, this might be clouds, this might be a mountain. I showed this to a friend and he told me something totally different. I'll get to that here later on in the video, but this is the end result of that. So I just got the piece out the oven, it's fully cooled down. I just said, let's just take this home, let's put the glue on, let's put the piece on the thing, and let's get to the end result. Let's go ahead and just paint this thing. So that's what we're about to do here. Oh wait, never mind, we're not about to paint. So my speckling idea, I made this, and you might be wondering, well, Abdul, what are you gonna do with that? We're gonna shine some light on this. So yeah, this idea, I honestly do not know what this is that I made, but it's gonna have a light that goes on the inside. So my whole speckling thing I told you, I did that with this. Take some glue, I'm putting it in there, letting it dry for about an hour, and once it's dry, it's not gonna fall apart, and we got some light. Now we're gonna get to the paint. So I used a whole bunch of different paints for this one to make the colors. Now I will admit I did not go overboard. You will not see me do any form of black washing, dry brushing. I was super conventional with this one. I wish I had a better reason other than I just wanted to be done. Just a shout out, all of the different pieces of armature wire, I cut those so they started to, I guess in a way, look like teeth. What I was alluding to earlier, I showed this to a few people when it was finished, and the best example of what I believe that this is a mountain fly trap. So that's what we're going with. This started out as several other things. I wish I had a better end game with this, but I will gladly take a mountain fly trap just so it looks like something. So as I stated, I'm just going through and I'm painting this different colors. I wanted to go with a more earthy tone in the middle, but on the top I wanted this to be somewhat creature-like. Especially once I got that in my head that this is not a nice little scene that you can give the grandma. Hi grandma, happy birthday, love you. Grandma doesn't want this thing. So I'm painting the inside of it. And these are color shift paints that I'm using, by the way. So when the light reflects off of it, it gives a little bit more dimension to the whole piece as a whole. And what we're going to do here in a second, once I get all of the paint on this, one more thing I'm doing is adding a triple thick gloss to it. This is my first time I'm using it, and I'm really happy with this. It gives it a nice, very polished look, and it also holds in all the color as well. You do want this to dry 24 hours before you move it or try to inherit it, because it does have a little bit of a smell to it. So I'm gonna put it on very thick thick color. I can't talk now. I'm putting on thick doses of this, and we're pretty much done. So I'm going to put some on the bottom of it, and I'm going to do this way better than I did last week, because this is my favorite part of any sculpture, is when I can get to the end result. So put that gloss on, doing one more dose on it on the bottom, and say it with me if you want to at home. Lights, camera, smaction. Okay, not yet. It's coming though. Here it is. No. Almost. Maybe now? So I really do hope that all of you did get to enjoy this week's video. I know this is my second outing with YouTube and how to master everything. I went a little bit overboard what I normally make, but if you're watching this and you got enjoyment out of it, I appreciate all of you. And also new, I do have a Patreon, by the way, and I want to shout out my first Patreon ever, Chef_PC. Thank you guys. If you want to join, just go to patreon.com/MindofAK. I can't thank you all enough. Next week's video, I will be back to my norm, which I know most of you might not know what my norm is. Next week, I will be way in my field house. And for that, if you want to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon, when that video does come out, you'll be able to see it. Now, let me give you my proper teaser for next week. I'm just going to reshare it right now. I wonder what it could be. I don't know. But we'll see you later, guys.